This is an investigation of Joe Biden.
Hopefully, I'll be saying soon, this is the funeral of my baby mama. Next! What is this all about anyway?
The President of the United States and why he lied to the American people about his knowledge and participation in his family's international business schemes.
Well, impeach his ass and lock his ass up in no particular order.
Well, I think he's absolutely right, Rob. You got to drill down to what exactly prompted this investigation. We're talking about SARS reports. These are suspicious activity reports that are required to be filed by anybody that is in banking.
National security interests require the committee conduct investigation, and we will pursue all avenues that have long been ignored.
And this could have been a bank teller who saw something and who is required by law to report what they saw. As a former bank CEO myself, I've dealt with a lot of SARS. As a CEO, I've had to file them before. And so this is a very serious matter.
And how many crackheads you can trust with a couple of $1 million in the bank? Next! But A.G. Garland want to go after Donald Trump.
Now, Garland said that Trump's announcement and Biden's, professed likely run in 2024 were factors in his decision to name a special counsel.
Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel.
Was that required by Trump's announcement on Tuesday, or somehow triggered this decision?
Is the timing coincidental, or is it corrupt?
I go with option B.
I think, here we go again. I mean, this is the left's favorite tool, is to appoint a special counsel and then let the media breathlessly report on every twist and turn of a special counsel, giving it some imprimatur of, even super legitimacy.
When in reality, it's faker than a $3 bill.
I've been going through these investigations and hoaxes and scams from the day I came down the escalator at Trump Tower, and you'd really say enough is enough.
When is The Simpsons going to predict the end of Donald Trump investigations and the start of Hunter and Joe Biden's?
Committee Republicans have uncovered evidence of federal crimes committed by and to the benefit of members of the president's family.
When they get filed, they go to FinCEN, and they actually have to investigate. So where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and it's usually based upon some type of fraud activity. And we know for a fact that Hunter Biden has been peddling influence for a very long time. He's the greatest poster boy for, liberal privilege that the American people have ever seen.
Hunter Biden is about as untouchable as a hot stove. Next!
Whistleblowers describe President Biden as chairman of the board for these businesses. He personally participated in meetings and phone calls.
And so I applaud the House for doing the right thing here. If there's smoke, there's probably fire. And I think the big guy will likely be, certainly indicted.
Documents show that he was a partner with access to an office. To be clear, Joe Biden is the big guy.
And the big guy get 10%. Next! If Bill Barr had half the nuts A.G. Garland, Donald Trump will still be president. And Joe Biden has to be in jail along with Hunter.
I personally think that they probably have the basis for legitimately indicting the president. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Well, your speculations are speculative.
He didn't say that he was required to appoint the special counsel. He said that he thought it was the right thing to do.
Speaker Shannon, did you say that you thought the big guy Joe Biden would be indicted, or did I misunderstand?
No, you heard him right.
Based upon what I'm hearing, it looks as if this investigation, if there are suspicious activity reports that link him to financially benefiting or participating in this, peddling of influence, I think there is a chance an indictment could come down at some point.
Of Joe Biden.
And that point is coming soon.
I believed, under the circumstances that I faced, that the appointment of Robert Mueller was the right thing to do with regard to the Russia investigation.
When Trump was found not guilty of Russian collusion.
His role in the 2016 election is interviewing senior intelligence officials as part of a widening probe that now includes an examination of whether President Trump attempted to obstruct justice. So he's in the crosshairs. Although former Director Comey assured President Trump he was not under investigation, officials now say that changed shortly after Comey's firing. This comes after the New York Times reported that the president has been considering firing Mr. Mueller himself, but someone on his staff waved him off the idea, warning that this would make a bad situation worse.
Hopefully you got all that, because I didn't. Next!
The president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice. We would so state. Based on the facts and the applicable legal standards, however, we are unable to reach that judgment, close quote. Now, does that say there was no obstruction?
No. It looked like we're going to be having another Mueller report instead of a Trump conviction.
Could you charge the president with a crime after he left office?
Yes.
So the report did not conclude that he did not commit obstruction of justice. Is that correct?
That is correct. You believe that you could charge the president of the United States with obstruction of justice after he left office?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Obviously, after he's president, you can't do it legally while he's president, but I think it could certainly be implicated at the very least, if not indicted.
And what about total exoneration? Did you actually totally exonerate the president?
No.
All right. Well, I'd stop the presses and just end the show right now, because that's pretty big news.
Ethically, under the ethical standards.
Well, I'm not certain because I haven't looked at the ethical standards, but the OLC opinion says that the prosecutor, while he cannot bring a charge.
In fact, you were actually unable to conclude the president did not commit obstruction of justice. Is that correct?
Against the sitting president, nonetheless, continue the investigation to see if there are any other persons who might be drawn into the conspiracy.
Damn, Robert Mueller is worse than Joe Biden.
Well, we, at the outset, determined that we, when it came to the president's culpability, we needed to go forward only after taking into account the OLC opinion that indicated that a president, a sitting president, cannot be indicted.
So impeach Joe Biden as first then.
It's not just all about China and Russia. There are over 50 countries that Comer and Jordan took the media through yesterday. What do you make of this? And then it goes back to October 2020, the Hunter Biden laptop. First, the FBI said it was fake. Then they said Joe Biden really wasn't involved. Now they're saying, well, Joe Biden didn't know about what Hunter was up to. The Republicans are going to try to expose this. How does this play for the president?
All because his son couldn't pay an $85 repair bill.
This evidence raises troubling questions about whether President Biden is a national security risk.
We know he a risk to little kids.
And about whether he is compromised by foreign governments.
Or little kids sitting on his lap. Next! Why is Joe Biden sicking his DOJ on his political opponent?
What is the mandate for this special prosecutor?
Convict Trump by any means necessary.
Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters.
Is it the documents that were taken from the White House? Is it the January 6th riot? Is it the overturning of the last election? We have no idea even what this is about.
But the Democrats know what it could do.
In the 118th Congress, this committee will evaluate the status of Joe Biden's relationship with his family's foreign partners and whether he is a president who is compromised or swayed by foreign dollars and influence.
And also influenced by his 10%. Next! I thought no one was above the law.
This will not be a fair investigation. But again, I thought this was all done or very close to being done.
Because it's not about convictions, it's about crucifixions.
We know that the Justice Department had already been engaged in its own investigation. If they thought they had the elements for a criminal indictment against the president on the documents case, why didn't they just bring it?
Where William Barr should have focused 4 years ago.
I want to be clear. This is an investigation of Joe Biden. And that's where the committee will focus in this next Congress.
You know, Mark, all right, yeah. Give me a reaction. We're out of time, but
okay.
The condescension, you can't be condescending when it comes to this, because don't forget, October
being kind of-
2020, 50 intelligence officials, the
I'm
former
not-
head of the
I'm not-
CIA,
I'm
they
not
all
being-
said the laptop had the classic earmarks of Russian disinfo. They were all wrong. Nobody's been held accountable. Nobody apologized.
Wrong my ass. They wasn't wrong. They was lying.
I'm just saying I've not heard anybody else predict that Joe Biden would be indicted. That seems like a big story. So I didn't think I had anything to say to top that.
Well, shut the hell up and listen then.
Just remember, this is important. There was a poll done December 2020. I want to make sure I have this right. 4 in 5 voters said they would have changed their vote if they knew about the laptop prior to the election.
And that is what we call my friend aiding and abetting in the cover-up. Next!
Well, after all, President Biden did say he'd use all his tools to keep Trump out of office again.
And it looked like Joe Biden is trying to keep his promise by sicking his henchmen on Donald Trump.
It also allows prosecutors and agents to continue their work expeditiously and to make decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law.
If that was the case, you would have dismissed Donald Trump's case a long time ago instead of people just coming out of nowhere and making stuff up.
According to the New York Times, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is refocusing his criminal investigation into Donald Trump, looking into a 2016 hush money payment sent to Stormy Daniels in the final days of Donald Trump's first presidential campaign.
Because he want to get his shine on too.
He's decided that he wants some news of his own, and so he's resurrecting an investigation into Donald Trump to figure out whether or not there was any New York state law that was violated in paying that money to Stormy Daniels.
Well, tell Stormy Daniels Michael Avenatti is the one that screwed her, literally. Next! Like Bill Barr screwed Donald Trump.
U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr has revealed he will not appoint a special counsel to investigate President-elect Joe Biden's son, Hunter.
And that may have cost Donald Trump the election.
But I think in this case, Merrick Garland clearly made a discretionary decision. The department had been handling this itself for 2 years.
Why appoint a special counsel? Is the special counsel going to start all over? Right? Are they going to restart the clock?
Could have continued to handle it itself, but he believed that this would help to promote public confidence. I think it remains to be seen.
Maybe the Justice Department decided that they don't think they could bring a case because they may not win, but the president has just announced that he's going to run again, and now this restarts the clock by appointing a special prosecutor who he or she could say, look, I got to do my own investigation. I got to start all over.
Which means it would take more time to prosecute and get that report.
But given what's gone on, I think they probably have the evidence that would check the box. They have the case.
How many boxes did Joe Biden and Hunter Biden check out and they still didn't get investigated or their house kicked in?
Do you agree?
Well, I don't know. I think the Attorney General Barr that is mentioned later in that interview that he was speculating. And I think it's, there are multiple levels of issues that the department needs to consider, Margaret. Number one is the evidence sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction?
So it's really not clear what this is about because there's been so many different investigations. It's not clear what the mandate is.
The mandate is to stop Trump from running again.
So you wouldn't have done this yourself?
As I said, it's easy to second guess from outside. I think my inclination, given that the investigation has been going on for some time and given the stage which they've reached, is that I probably would not have, but I just can't tell from the outside.
Well, pretend like your ass is back on the inside and call a spade a spade.
So from where you sit, does the appointment of a special counsel indicate at least a willingness on Merrick Garland's part to go ahead with a prosecution, or is that overreading?
No, it's called overreaching because the Democrats don't read, especially the Constitution.
A controversial dossier prepared as opposition research on then candidate Donald Trump, alleging connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. It's believed that firm was first hired by a Republican opponent, and then the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee funded it from there.
Former Clinton campaign spokesperson Brian Fallon said the Democrats did nothing wrong.
The Democrats would agree because they are liberal. Next! Bill Barr didn't even investigate the fake dossier.
Oh, well, Mr. President, first a question for you. Attorney General Barr says he is unlikely to have any criminal investigation of either Barack Obama or Joe Biden. You've been talking about what you call the greatest political crime in American history. What do you think of Mr. Barr's decision?
I think it's important to remember that opposition research happens all the time in campaigns.
The dossier on Trump was produced by a Washington-based firm called Fusion GPS, which had actually started digging up dirt on Trump for an unknown Republican during the primaries. After several Republican candidates dropped out, the Clinton campaign and the Democrats secretly paid Fusion GPS to continue their research efforts. The president today said he was a victim.
I think it's a disgrace.
Hey, Tom, I think it's a bigger disgrace that the Republicans tried it first.
Mr. Barr, who resigned from his role last week, says he did not see any reason to do so, despite President Donald Trump pushing for an investigation.
I guess Bill Barr didn't see the evidence on the laptop because there was plenty of evidence on that, because there was plenty of reasons on that hard drive to start an investigation, but there was no evidence in the dossier.
I think it's important to know who paid for this dossier. What is more important than anything is whether the allegations in the dossier are true.
And look who's talking, Mr. Fang Fang. Next! We can't trust nothing you say.
Well, I think if it was me, they would do it. I think for them, maybe they're not going to. I don't know. I'm surprised because Obama knew everything that was happening. I don't think Obama knows where he is in a lot of ways. I saw his statements the other day, and I think that, frankly, they weren't very good. It's President Obama.
Barack Obama's statements ain't never clear, but they give him credit for being a good speaker. Ain't that a bitch?
In fact, it's standard practice in campaigns for both parties.
But only Republicans get prosecuted for it.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
But it's evidence that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden did happen. Next!
I think what it indicates is that despite the fact the department has been at this for some time, almost 2 years on the January 6th investigation, close to a year on the Mar-a-Lago investigation, that they still believe that they have a viable potential case. It doesn't mean they made a decision to go forward, but it certainly is an indication they believe it's a possibility.
And we're going to get another report after all this investigation is done.
As far as Biden's concerned, I can't tell you. Only he knows what he knows. I don't think he knows too much.
Because they don't tell Joe Biden that much, because it might hurt his little brain. Beth Roberts. Bill Barr should have said more, and he should have done more. If he would, Donald Trump would still be president.
There's an investigation. I think that it's being handled responsibly and professionally currently within the department. And to this point, I have not seen a reason to appoint a special counsel, and I have no plan to do so before I leave.
But if it was me, I guarantee they'd be going after me. In his case, they're not. So I think it's just a continuation of a double standard.
And let's remember, on the documents case, I've always said on your show, this is a tough case to win. You have to literally say that the Espionage Act, which is usually used for enemies of the state, dissidents, people that sell state secrets to foreign governments, is the same thing as a president who has a possessory interest in documents that were created during his presidency, that there's no evidence that he sold it or distributed it or destroyed it.
Now, under the longstanding standards of the department, criminal charges are appropriate only when we have enough evidence to prove each element of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, it don't look like Donald Trump will be charged once more if we using that method.
Now, I have a general idea of how Mr. Durham's investigation is going.
Number two is it an appropriate use of federal resources to bring that case? And a case against a former president obviously would be extraordinary, would raise unique concerns. And so I would hope that Merrick Garland and his team would be very careful about scrutinizing that evidence, not just checking the box, but making sure that they're prepared to stand behind the decision that they make.
You have to say that the Espionage Act is violated simply for possessing it or mishandling it. That's it. That's all you have to do. And that ruling has never happened before.
The Democrats say it's a first time for everything.
And as I have indicated, some aspects of the matter are being examined as potential crimes.
We normally think of the Espionage Act for people that are truly enemies of the state, that are selling state secrets, and there's never been any evidence of that.
The Democrats make up evidence as they go.
But we have to bear in mind what the Supreme Court recently reminded us of in the Bridgegate case. As the court said there's a difference between an abuse of power and a federal crime. Not every abuse of power, no matter how outrageous, is necessarily a federal crime.
Well, Hillary Clinton can vouch for that. Next, her and the O'Bidens.
But I think Obama and Biden knew about it. They were participants, but so I'm a little surprised by that statement. I don't think he said it quite the way you said it. I think he said, as of this moment, I guess.
Well, Donald Trump, I think you guessed wrong. Next, but we all mess up sometimes, player.
Now, as to President Obama and Vice President Biden, whatever their level of involvement, based on the information I have today, I don't expect Mr. Durham's work will lead to a criminal investigation of either man.
I'm surprised by it. But that's where it is. And I don't know what he said about the others. You have to understand, I was coming into this room as that statement was being made.
Our concern over potential criminality is focused on others.
That have nothing to do with the big guy.
So when you say sustain a conviction, what do you mean by that? Does that mean looking at the courts that are likely to prosecute? I mean, where would you prosecute this case, Florida or Washington, D.C.?
Well, it means ensuring that, number one, you'll get past a jury. That is, being able to persuade 12 random citizens that your case proves the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power.
And number two, that it'll be sustained or upheld on appeal. You know, the department sometimes brings cases in which they use novel theories that prevail in district court but are overruled on appeal.
If he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
I thought that was up to the voters and not the Department of Justice. Next! That's why y'all charging Donald Trump with obstruction and not a crime.
So that's why I always thought that was a tough case to win, and I never thought the government would bring it, and maybe they won't. Maybe they're just appointing a special prosecutor to buy some more time.
Yeah, like 2 more years worth.
Yeah, Thane, considering that the former president has just announced that he's running for president again, would that get him off the hook legally in any way?
Hell no. It made the liberals push harder.
Not unless he was elected again, right? If he was actually elected and the case had not yet been brought to an indictment stage, it's still investigative, then of course he would make the same argument that I said yesterday on your show with connection with Joe Biden and this investigation of his son, right? He's saying, I'm immune from criminal investigation and prosecution while I'm the president of the United States. You want to go after my son, good luck to you, but you can't go after me while I'm president.
His ass won't be long.
On the other hand, as you know, and many Newsmax viewers are very, very strong Trump supporters, the more they go after President Trump, especially as he's pursuing the re-election, the more his base gets galvanized.
And the weaker the Republican Party becomes.
You can just see there's, oh yeah, more of it. They're clamping down now. Now there's a special prosecutor. Remember, when you appoint a special prosecutor, you're making a very strong statement that this is very, very serious charges. So you're putting an impression in the minds of the public, oh my God, something terrible has happened. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a special prosecutor.
When in actuality, nothing has happened, because if it did, they would have done it themselves.
So you understand that the government's position could be, well, look, here's something we could do. The president just announced his re-election bid. Let's appoint a special prosecutor. What I'm saying to you, they didn't have to.
But if they didn't, it wouldn't be a show.
They've already, the Justice Department was already conducting its own investigation. On the documents case, they've been working on this for months. Do you have a criminal conviction elements or not?
And the miniseries that y'all call January 6th proved nothing.
Let's go. What do you have? Right? Yeah. Bring it. Why start all over with a special prosecutor if this case is so strong?
Sharon, Bill Barr had a strong case, but he didn't start nothing.
If I thought a special counsel at this stage was the right tool and was appropriate, I would name one, but I haven't, and I'm not going to.
And again, are they starting from scratch? And again, that means starting the clock again.
If Bill Barr's start clock was working, Joe Biden wouldn't be a president. He'd be a damn inmate.
Remember, they're going to say, and they've continued to say, President Trump needs to be treated like any other citizen when it comes to mishandling of documents.
Any citizen except Hillary Clinton.
Bill Barr then shot down another of Donald Trump's hopes, saying there's no need for a special investigation into Hunter Biden, the son of President-elect Joe Biden.
Or anybody not named O'Biden. P. Mosley. How can a crackhead see more presidential treatment than a damn ex-president?
Yeah.
Remember what the first federal judge said? She said he is in a league of his own. Stop saying that he's just like any other citizen.
160, I wish my baby mama was in a casket of her own. Just like every other Hillary Clinton assistant.
I have not seen a reason to appoint a special counsel, and I have no plan to do so before I leave.
Before you leave, I wish your ass never came, because Garland make your ass look like a damn security guard.
Garland specifically, Merrick Garland says that we need this to happen, or this special counsel, because Trump is running for president. And then, so why is there no special prosecutor, for the Hunter Biden laptop? Why are they being neutral on Trump, but not on Biden? It doesn't add up.
Yesterday, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein assured members of Congress that Mr. Mueller's investigation would remain independent.
Look, the public doesn't hear the word special counsel and they don't think, oh, independent. They don't immediately think that. They don't see objectivity in that. So is this really independent?
Like Merrick Garland misstated a very important fact, and that is that this special counsel is not independent from the Department of Justice. This special counsel is going to not only use all the resources of the Department of Justice and the FBI, but also report directly to Merrick Garland.
Secondly, is this prosecutor not going to use the evidence that's been gathered by Garland and his team? Because if he is using the evidence gathered, how is that independent?
So really, this is a way for Merrick Garland to solely control the fate of Donald Trump's legal cases. And I think it is probably the most partisan move he's made to date.
They've already conducted all this evidentiary fact-finding, and he's going to take that and run with the ball with that? That doesn't seem particularly independent.
If he start over, that means he can't trust the evidence they got. And if he trusts the evidence they got, that means he continuing the investigation.
And on the other hand, if he starts all over, as you mentioned with Tom before, that starts the clock, and then this will take forever.
Not really, just till next November.
But it does also the cynicism of saying, look, I can't be involved in this because there's a presidential election coming up. We cannot look like the Justice Department is taking sides in favor of President Biden.
The Biden White House that waived President Trump's claim of executive privilege that paved the way for this Mar-a-Lago raid. And we need to step back and remember a couple things. This special counsel is going to investigate the non-crimes of objecting to the presidential election.
Democrats say is next to murder on the crime chart.
If it were a crime, the Democrats would have been charged in for 1969, 2001, 2005, 2017, when they objected to the election.
And if pedophilia was prosecuted as a damn crime, it wouldn't be a damn Democrat party.
It's also they're investigating the non-crime of a former president taking a personal copy of his presidential records when he leaves office. He is specifically allowed to do that under the Presidential Records Act.
But then why is there no special counsel appointed in connection with another investigation taking place simultaneously in the Justice Department against President Biden's son?
And where the heck is the special counsel to investigate President Biden, his son Hunter, and his brother James when there is clear smoking gun evidence of foreign corruption in China and the Ukraine?
It seems to me Garland should have said, I am here today to announce the appointment of two separate special prosecutors so I can step back and not be involved in what will appear to be a political process.
That would have been too much like fair.
Remember the Mueller report. Remember the investigation. 2 years goes by, and at the end, we have a report. At that point, he's recommending that either the Justice Department bring criminal charges against the president or not.
Black Barbie, do you know that was the most expensive report in American history?
In the case of Mueller, he said, I don't think that there are charges that can be brought against the president. At that time, we had Bill Barr, who also pointed out that he didn't think that even obstruction applied to the president.
Well, Bill Barr has changed his mind recently.
So the attorney general made a decision not to bring any actions against the president. There were some cases that were brought prosecutions, but not under Russian collusion.
And not related to Donald Trump.
Remember, a lot of those were the convictions were for lying to federal investigators, not for actual collusion.
And not for taking a bullet for Donald Trump either.
So yes, the damage is often done simply by calling for an investigation that goes on for 2 years and it culminates in nothing.
But at least we will get another report soon.
Why? Because one thing prosecutors don't want to do, Bob and Katrina, is bring prosecutions that blow up in their face.
Ms. Coco, I wish something other than a soda would blow up in my baby mama face. Next!
If they don't think they can get a jury to agree with them, they don't want in on it.
Well, the Democrats don't need no jury to agree if they got a press that'll lie.
One could get the impression that after all that we've already seen, he doesn't have enough to bring charges, so he's going to punt to somebody else.
But he can't score on Donald Trump defense.
Bob, I think that's already what happened now. I actually think the Justice Department could have, if they had it, they could have brought their own indictment against the president.
But they don't have it, and they're trying to make it up.
I don't think they had it. I don't think this is entirely because there's a political presidential election impending. I think it's because they ran out of gas.
And high as gas is, they should stop while they're still ahead.
And they didn't. They had to do something. And here's something that they could do that was very significant. Appoint a special prosecutor, restart the clock, get excited again about the documents case, about January 6th. Because at the end of the day, they didn't think they had enough evidence to indict the president, but they didn't want to drop this investigation, so they just restarted it.
And if you want to see some more of this video, you're going to have to rewind it and restart it, because this video is over, because I got to make the next. Next! Oh, shit. We got something, y'all. We got something. Hold on.
You can't fake my nigga Black Rosebud with these jokes, my nigga. You don't
Randy, my boy from Tulsa Brickworks.
When he starts roasting niggas, truth be told, you don't want that smoke. Now you're the butt of all the jokes. The king of comedy, running these motherfucking streets. Jokes on top of jokes, no one can compete. Left feeling incomplete if you try to heckle.